Welcome today to a very special event at the Freeman Spogli Institute for International Studies at Stanford University. This event is special, and that is the first time in Stanford's history that a president from Ukraine is speaking on our campus. It is my true honor to welcome here today President Zelensky of Ukraine and his distinguished delegation. It's also a special event, Mr. President, because this is the largest gathering that we have had here since March 2020 because of COVID. And I want to thank your team, your protocol team, and my team for putting on this event outside. We don't normally have presidents speak outside. So you're the first president that's spoken outside, too. Think about that. But in all seriousness, it's a triply special event for us, Mr. President, because Stanford over the last 2 decades has developed a special bond with your country. Many of us here at Stanford believe that the fight for democracy and independence in Ukraine is one of the most important causes in the world today. Not just for Ukrainians, but for all who cherish the ideas of democracy, liberty, and sovereignty. Palo Alto is very far from Kiev, maybe you noticed. I've made that flight many, many times. But because of our common commitment to these shared universal values, we here at Stanford have made a special investment to try to understand the politics, economics, and security challenges of your country. And through several educational programs, we also have tried to contribute to the nurturing of democracy and economic reform in your country. We've graduated 3 classes in our Ukrainian Emerging Leaders program, and we're about to welcome the 4th class here shortly. Since 2005, in our esteemed Draper Hill Summer Fellows program, we've had over 24 Ukrainians, members of parliament, journalists, human rights activists, some who support you, some who don't, because we are nonpartisan here. We've had journalists Alyona Pritula and Alexander Akimenko here as Knight Fellows. And through our Leadership Academy for Development, directed by Professor Frank Fukuyama, we've led training programs in Ukraine, not only in Kiev, but in Lviv and other cities for many years. Our alumni of these programs, some of which are members of your party, Mr. President, now number in the hundreds. So maybe we're far away, but Stanford's commitment to working with Ukrainians, as I already said, in a strictly nonpartisan basis, is deep. And for that reason, we could not be more thrilled than to welcome you, President Zelensky, to Stanford today. So, ladies and gentlemen, the President of Ukraine.
I would like to start without any further ado. And what are the 2 words to describe modern Ukraine? Everything is possible. 3 words, perhaps, in English. But before the expert environment of Central University, we had many distinguished speakers, some accomplished politicians, business people, activists from all the world. Could I ever, a guy from a very simple, common family, from a beautiful but very common industrial town in the east of Ukraine, could I ever imagine that I would have this opportunity to speak to you? No, of course not. But everything is possible in Ukraine and for Ukraine. But for that, at least, you have to become president of Ukraine. And what these facts speaks for? Well, this common guy from a common family, well, my father was a professor, by the way, very common family from a common industrial town in the east of Ukraine. You're right. Everything is possible. And this is not just my credo, this is a symbol of our modern Ukraine that I would like to tell you about right now. The Ukraine that you perhaps haven't heard of. Well, you don't know everything, wouldn't understand everything. Not about a former Soviet republic, somewhere next to Russia, under the belly somewhere in Europe, but about Ukraine. Ukraine as a big democracy where everything is possible. And once, when I was already working in Kyiv, my wife I had to make this dramatic pause, you know. And my wife gave me my firstborn and my daughter in our native town. And this is this common industrial town in the east of Ukraine. Kryvyi Rih is its name, the crooked horn, literally. The distance between Kyiv and Kryvyi Rih is 250 miles approximately. But because of the quality of roads, in order to cover this distance by car, you needed 10 hours driving. And my dream was to change it. And when I had my firstborn and I spent 10 hours driving, after our second child, I spent 20 hours to fill out all the documents, do all the compliance. And I had a dream to change it. Ukrainians very often would prove to humanity that everything was possible. It was possible to create the first helicopter, artificial satellite, the biggest aircraft, and WhatsApp. But once in WhatsApp app, I wrote to my friend that Ukraine, for 30 years then, had not created anything like the first helicopter, the artificial satellite, and the biggest aircraft. And we were dreaming of changing this. And now we discovered that the only option to do that was to become president of Ukraine and bring with you a team of people. And as we remember, everything is possible. Still is. And Ukraine is now building thousands of kilometers of roads, hundreds of bridges, and it is possible, as we discovered. And Ukraine is again constructing and designing their own aircrafts, choppers, tanks, warships. And Ukraine, which is now confronting one of the mightiest armies in the world, the Russian Federation, which annexed and occupied part of our territory, which is bigger in its size than this territory, than some states in America, in the United States. And Ukraine is building up a democratic, free, open country. We're creating the anti-corruption system of institutes, unique system, electronic declarations for senior officials. We minimize influence of tycoons over the policy and economy of Ukraine, simplify business operations, reform banking sector, and start practice of transparent tenders, auctions for development, production, exploration of natural resources, corporate governance, transparent and open. For the first time after our regained independence, we launched the land reform, the market of land, rule of law, judicial system. That's what we are doing right now, knowing that everything is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the most famous speech made here, right here on this campus, is Steve Jobs' speech. And once Apple started its glorious way in a garage, and on the surface it was a set of crazy ideas. And Ukraine has a similar situation. Once we were sitting with my team in a smaller office, generating ideas, brainstorming, and nobody would believe in our ideas back then. And they would say very often, Steve Jobs, I believe, heard it. It is impossible, they would say. And now I'm holding here a creation of Steve Jobs and Apple iPhone. An iPhone, this is the heart, and it is beating, beating with every beep, every call, every text message. And there we have our Ukrainian creation. I stayed in a smartphone, inside it, right inside, and 26 million Ukrainians online on a smartphone can do all the compliance with the birth certificates. They can use digital documents. They can get permits for construction. They can open their own business using 7 to 15 minutes. It's quicker than in the majority of any countries in the world. Ukraine is the first country in the world actually having digital passport, a digital ID. The conclusion is this: everything is possible. And our goal for the nearest future is 100% of governmental services online, and in the future we aspire for all our nationals, our citizens, our public to vote electronically for the elections. In the old world we know the notion of American dream, but we lost too much time, and we have no time for dreaming right now. We have no Ukrainian dream. We have the Ukrainian goal, the Ukrainian mission. And this is not just digitalization. We will bring back our people. It is very important to bring back our people, the Crimea, the Ukrainian Donbass, and will be a powerful, confident, successful country, leader of the new Europe. Well, I'm sure, so certain of that. Oh, well, not arrogant. It's not because everything is possible, but because we can do it. And I would like to invite you to Ukraine to see for yourselves. Thank you very much for your attention, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I have to sit? No. I don't know.
You don't have to sit. No. I'm just looking for where the microphone is, so that we have some time for questions. With your permission, Mr.
Yes,
President.
with pleasure.
Okay. That's the Stanford way.
Yes.
So the microphone is in the back, and if people could go back there, and if I could ask two things, if you could, one, introduce yourself to the President and everybody here, and two, ask one question, and actually ask a question. Don't make a speech. It would be really an honor for our President to answer questions and not listen to speeches. So, please. I'll let you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My name is Mimi Kant. I'm a human rights defender from Burma, and I'm here, a graduate student here at Stanford University and studying a master's in international policy. And thank you for sharing your story and your vision for Ukrainian future. And I understand that we are all here in agreement of democratic principle and the fight for freedom. Our human rights investigation for Burma show that Ukraine is still one of the countries supplying arms to the Burmese military that has been killing over 1,000 innocent civilians and arresting over 7,000 peaceful protester and democratic human rights defender in Burma. And my question here to you today is whether, if that has been stopped, whether Ukraine has ceased dealing with illegitimate military junta in Burma, and whether it has stopped halting arms supplies to the Burmese military. And I understand this is not the subject that you have come here to speak, but in honor of a lot of my friends and family who are fighting for democracy in Burma, in honor of those who have been arrested, I'm here taking the stand today. Thank you very much.
Дуже дякую вам за запитання. Я, по-перше, хотів би відреагувати на те,
I would like to respond to the things. What I was discussing wasn't just the vision of Ukraine. When I'm talking about digitalization of our state and our fight against corruption, overcoming corruption, defeating corruption, we're talking about investment climate, banking sector reform, land reform. This is a reality. This is something we have accomplished. The reforms are voted for by the parliament. Yes, we still have to implement them. We need some time for that. And our economy. Now speaking, if I got you right, well, there are some difficulties, but you were talking about supplies of armaments to different countries from Ukraine, right? And I would like to tell you this, to respond to you in a very simple way. I don't know what was happening before my time, what kind of contracts we had, but presently, believe me, just believe me, when I come to the United States, and I thank President Biden's administration for their support. We're talking about procurement, supplies of armaments from the United States, or procurements of gunboats from Europe to strengthen our defensive capabilities, our armed forces, our army, because we are fighting a war in the east of Ukraine. I'm talking about my priority. We are not prepared to sell anything just like that. My priority is for all the arms. I'm talking about arms, unfortunately, because we're a peaceful state and we are talking about defense of our borders, of our sovereignty, and our territorial integrity. So this cannot be like that, because all those arms, all those weapons that we manufacture and procure, we need for the defense capability of our country.
My name is Omar Pimentel, and I'm an incoming graduate student in the Masters in International Policy program. And my question to you is, we're recently undergone frankly, a big change in two White Houses and foreign policy-wise. What would you say is the biggest change in America's foreign policy regarding Ukraine, and which White House have you enjoyed working with the most?
Good question. I'm not sure that you will get good answer. You know, I'm here, and we do need, because of those things that I've said already, we do need big support from United States of America. And always we had it from USA, and I'm sorry that I will say it. It doesn't matter. I mean, who will be the president of the USA? I mean, that it's very important, but it doesn't matter in the question of Ukraine, of supporting Ukraine. USA is our strategic partner. That's why your great country always supported us, supported our sovereignty, first of all. So we do need it, and yesterday I've got these directly, these messages from Biden's administration. The second part you need, you need the second part. I think the main thing that I think it's very important, what president you like better. I think if you want to answer, I think.
Hi, I'm Nick Bilogorsky, co-founder of Nova Ukraine, a charity organization here in Palo Alto. We collect humanitarian aid for Ukraine and help education initiatives in Ukraine. And there is a large global diaspora of Ukrainians that would like to get Ukrainian citizenship and be able to purchase property in Ukraine. What are your thoughts on allowing dual citizenship?
Тобто питання було в тому, що ви хочете отримати...
You willing to get citizenship? People from diaspora, right? And how we can make it possible? How can we make it possible what you losing your American citizenship, right? This is our approach. I like it. I appreciate. Take something without losing anything else. Well, perhaps you've heard in my messages in Ukraine, my presentations, yes, I'm in favor of this double nationality. This has been reviewed, double citizenship. The parliament is looking into the issue, but is this a timely one? we wonder, because it's very difficult with the temporary occupation of our Ukrainian peninsula, the Crimea. They would issue passports, and they did it for more than 20 years, providing Russian IDs for the citizens of Ukraine in the territory of the Crimea. Currently, in parallel with that, we have the temporarily occupied the Ukraine Donbas, 600,000 Russian passports issued for our citizens there in the occupied territories. So double citizenship for the time of peace, of course, it wouldn't have been a problem. As a top priority, we would promote it, and for the sake of Ukrainians, also with Ukrainian roots, Ukrainian heritage, we have big diasporas in the U.S., in all the world. That's why this is the issue, a very difficult one, because we have this the issuance of passports, and there are some citizens with some other nationality, and they can get our nationality through this with not very good intentions. We have to protect our borders from that side. On that side, this is a topical issue, but because of the difficulties I was referring to, we have to develop such a legislation that we can avoid its dual use. It should be individual, it should be customized for specific groups, specific countries, and specific communities. Thank you very much.
Добрий день, пане президенте. Мене звати Наталя Аньйон, я є з редакції місцевої української газети, першої української газети «Громада». Я також CEO глобальної технічної компанії «Світла Systems». Я хочу вам подякувати, перш за все, за відповіді. Ми дали вам питання, і ви дали нам відповіді.
Thank you for providing us with the answers to our questions. We published your interview yesterday. Thank you for giving it to us, but my question is as follows right now. You are here in the Silicon Valley, and the Silicon Valley is the driver of global progress. You were referring to Steve Jobs in your presentation. As far as we can hear, you have high-level meetings with big high-tech companies here in the Silicon Valley. Can you outline the two big objectives that you would like to pursue here in the Silicon Valley? What would you like to bring back to Ukraine, saying, yes, to get the highest marks as president? The wine I hear is good here in this valley, but in addition to that, digitalization, of course, is one of the priorities in Ukraine, which is a big success, is very powerful. And the result of this reform is the victory over any kind of however small or medium-sized corruption in the state. Two powerful steps: digitalization of the country, of the state, governmental services at all the levels, digitalization of the government, and we have the paperless program launched in Ukraine for the first time. Mind you, digitalization of the government, the presidential office, the parliament. And the second part of it, to achieve results, and the area was referring to. This is the judicial reform, also voted by the parliament of Ukraine. Two principal laws reform the judicial system, actually cleansing the system. We can see the High Council of Justice and High Qualification Commission of judges. These are the two things in parallel. And what is the result? By the way, I think this is the most important result, and we have, this is not in theory, this is not just for the sake of making speeches. We have specific steps, and today we had a meeting with the Apple management, beautiful meeting, a very productive one. The platform was presented we launched it, the first digital passport in the world. We have digital IDs for Ukrainians, and I think it's cool, and I can congratulate you on this occasion. And the passport, and you can pay the taxes, the digital signature, 7 to 15 minutes to register a business, and it's all paperless. There's, of course, great resistance to such things, and the online voting. And just to crown it, to purify all the system, after paperless, we developing the with the Vice Prime Minister for Digitalization, cashless after paperless. I think it will be a wonderful breakthrough. I also expect big resistance offered to this, but what matters here is the result. Where there is a will, there is a way. And you can see that indeed this reform is topical for Ukraine, and we have this Ministry of Digitalization, and the first, this Vice Prime Minister we appointed, we made this position, and we have Deputy Minister responsible for digitalization, that every single ministry with IT experts helping our country there. That's it.
Dear Mr. President, thank you for being here with us. My name is Sergey. I'm a student at Stanford Business School. I was born in a beautiful Ukrainian city of Kharkiv, although I'm Russian. There is a famous writer, Evgeny Schwartz, who made a famous fairy tale called Kill the Dragon. You remember that everyone who is too long, or like at some time at the power, will sooner or later become a dragon. And in this fairy tale, the young boy who killed the dragon with all the great ideas eventually became dragon himself. Do you feel yourself becoming a dragon? And do you do anything to keep humility and kindness in your heart, not to become a dragon? Thank you so much. Спасибо.
What should I say? We all read Schwartz, Evgeny Schwartz, the Russian writer, and there was this film by Mark Zakharov, the late director, To Kill the Dragon. A great, great director, Russia. And we would never say in Ukraine that the Russian people have no history. We have shared history, we have shared victories, we have lots of great people that we share, but it so happened that politics made by the Russian Federation, well, are different now, and aimed at taking something away from us, not giving anything to us. And with years, I am sure it will all change, and the process are developing concurrently with the Belarusian issue. And I'm sure that we are still neighbors, and there will be this positive result someday. Now, speaking about your question, well, about this peaceful settlement in the Ukrainian Donbas. Yesterday we had some signals issued by the Russian Federation. We read about it that Ukraine does not want to conclude the war. It's wonderful. We weren't the ones who started it. We want to conclude it, but it is not up to us. Ukrainians lost 15,000 people at that war. Now, speaking of killing the dragon, as president of Ukraine, I've been 2 years in my office in this capacity. And you know some presidents who have a more difficult situation with this. And this is your choice. The choice of your people, of your country, but the Ukrainian society, our civil society, is so strong that whatever you want to do, whatever you attempt to do, we have some case studies of that in our history, recent history. The civil society is so free and democratic that and no dragon can be born in Ukraine. They will clip your wings immediately.
Mr. President, thank you for honoring Stanford with your visit. I'm Larry Diamond from the Center on Democracy, Development, and the Rule of Law. I'd like to ask you a question about the world rather than only Ukraine, and that has to do with the global recession of freedom and democracy that's gathering momentum now. We feel, and this is why our institute has made such a big commitment to training your countrymen and women, that the success of Ukraine as a democracy is vital to the future of freedom in the world, but there are other problems with freedom in the world. There's an executive coup against democracy that's unfolding in Tunisia now, and as you know, President Biden will convene a summit for democracy in September, where Ukraine will have an important role in December. What would you like to see the United States do, and what can the democracies of the world do together to push back against the authoritarian wave in the world?
Дякую за запитання. По-перше,
well, first of all, yesterday I talked to President Biden, and we discussed many topics: the alliance, NATO, the EU, protection of democracy, defending democracy, and how to be strong and powerful, and how to be together, not to lose this unity among the EU members, NATO nations. I think my stance is very clear. In any kind of alliance or union, we need people who deserve this union, who want to be in this union, and who aspire to be in that union and support the values, live the values of this union. And I think that there are some weak points and some gaps in the unions we're talking about, which some are supposed to defend and protect the principles you were referring to, but the weakness is in the great influence of big empires on smaller countries in those unions, and big powers rather than empires, through economy and politics and other things. And here you have the answer. At the same table, we need people who share, who would like to break the bread, break the bread that is given to them by God. And this is one thing. Secondly, and if we have President Biden invites all the democratic countries, they should answer the call, and Ukraine should be invited. I think it's a great chance, a proper occasion, and it would be a good message, a good signal, issues putting us in the highlight as a strategic partner. And there's number 3, number 4, and number 5 consideration, but enough is enough.
Thank you so much.
Mr. President,
yeah.
I just want to say 2 things in closing. First, thank you for honoring us with your presence today.
And for me, great honor.
Second, you're always welcome back. Even as president or in retirement as Professor Zelensky, you're welcome to come back.
You said in your speech that you have the 4th class, yeah?
Yes. Yes, you can
I
come.
will think about it.
And ladies and gentlemen, please help me in thanking President Zelensky for
Thank you so much.
President.
Great honor. Thank you again and again.